is working this first row in a 1x1 rib, just knit, purl, okay. Now I'm right at the end of the first section of knits and purls and made my way right to the center 8 stitches. And this first stitch of the center 8 is the same color that I've been working with, so I can just knit that stitch, but I'm going to place a marker here to make things a little easier in knowing when I'm to that point as I'm knitting the scarf. So I've knit the first stitch of the center 8. The next one's a purl stitch. When you're doing the purl stitches, you need to bring both yarns to the front of the work. I'm making this look a lot harder than it is. Okay, the non-working yarn, the yarn you're not going to knit the next stitch with, is held off to the side out of the way so these don't cross over, and purl that stitch. Okay, move the yarn to the back, knit the next stitch, move the yarn to the front of the work, purl that next stitch. Now we're right in the center, and in the center there's 2 stitches the same color, but we're going to continue like we did. We're going to put both yarns to the back, and now we're going to make sure that non-working yarn is right in between the stitch we're getting ready to work and our working yarn for that stitch, and then knit that stitch. The next stitch is a purl. We're going to move the yarn to the front, purl that stitch, move the yarn to the back, knit that stitch, move the yarn to the front, purl. Now we're done with those center stitches. We're going to move our yarn to the back of the work. Okay, there's the center 8. I'm going to go ahead and place a marker, and then now we're just going to knit and purl the rest of the stitches to the end. Alright, I made it to the end of that first row, and now I'm starting the second row, and we're going to do, it starts the same way as the first, just your knits and purls until you get to the center 8. Okay, now remember on the first row when we got to the center 8, this first stitch was the same color as the yarn we had been working with. On the next row it's not, it's a different color, so we're going to treat this just a little bit differently. We are going to cross this yarn, the yarn we were using, over the top of the yarn we're going to knit the next stitch with. And you only do that when you're using a different color for that first stitch. Okay, then the rest is just the same as we did before. You're moving the yarn out of the way, doing your purl, and doing your knits. Everything else is the same. At some point, you'll be knitting merrily along, and you will notice that you have a bit of a problem. What's supposed to be a nice, even knit row, or column, is going to have the other color crossed over it. So this will happen when you don't keep the yarn, both yarns forward when you're purling on the row before, and you get the yarn coming around the back of the stitch instead of around the other side of it. So to fix that, super simple. You can just lift that yarn up, pull that stitch away, and then drop that yarn off the needle, and then put that loop back on the needle. And so now that's in the back where it belongs. And you're ready to just knit that stitch.